So, very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Crystal, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about social and social intelligence. But before that, I'm going to tell you a little story. We all know that there are over 8 planets in our solar system, right? How many solar systems do you think there exists in our galaxy? Make a guess. Come on. I want a number. How many solar systems are there in our galaxy? 100? 200? 300? I hear 300. A lot? I hear a lot. Okay. There are 500 solar systems in our galaxy. Next. Okay. And our galaxy is called the Milky Way, right? Next. There are over 100 billion galaxies in our solar system alone. In the universe. Okay? 100 billion galaxies in the universe. So can you imagine that each universe, each galaxy in itself, in the universe, right? If each galaxy has just one star, all of us, 7 billion people on this planet, we will have more than 14 stars to think about. That's a lot of stars and a lot of galaxies and a lot of space to think about, right? But why I'm talking about space today is because I think space and data is very, very similar. Why do I say so? When we look at data today, we are like the astronomers of data. You know, when we look at space, when we look at the stars, we are like astronomers looking out to our telescope to the skies and thinking, what is there out there? How do I listen to social? How do I understand what is beyond my little worldview, right? How do I understand what people are talking about me? What is social all about and everything else? So we are like the astronomers, basically, of digital data, and we are just like any astronomers today who are studying the stars. Next. And more importantly, why astronomy, people who study the stars and people who study data, it's so similar because there's so much noise out there. When we listen to the stars, we think about, infrared, we think about finding life on other planets. We think about how light refracts off distant planets so that we can find more galaxies, right? In social data, what you're thinking about is, how many people are talking about you? What is the sentiment? What is the volume of retweets you're getting? What is the common topics? What are the trends, right? And those are the signals that you need for brands. Those are the signals that you need to drive your brand forward. Next. So, and that's a lot of data because the internet is 27 years old today. It was founded in 1989, and the universe is 13.7 billion years old. Can you imagine there's so many galaxies in the universe, and it's 13.7 billion years old. But when you look at the internet today, 27 years old, and 95% of all the data that we see today is actually created in the past 3 years. So let me just ask you to take a guess. How much data do you think is created today on the internet at any one day? Make a guess. Anyone? A lot? Okay. I like hearing the words a lot. Okay. 2.5 quintillion bytes of data. So just to give you a sense of how much that is, that's 2.5 terabytes of data. 1 terabyte of data is 1,000 gigabytes. So there are 18 zeros there. So that's 18 zeros in total, or over 10 million iPhone 7 Pluses. So enough data is created every single day to completely fill 10 million iPhone 7 Pluses. That's how much data and how much selfies and how much dating profiles our MC has to go through every single day. So my question is, when you look at all this data today and you think about that 10 million iPhone 7 Pluses that are created every single day, all that data that's created to fill that up, right? Can you think, do you actually listen to this data because you need to, because your boss tells you to go and listen to the social listening solution? Or do you actually want to try and understand what people are talking about you and how to use that for your business, for your brand, to drive people to your website, to understand what the influencers are talking about? That is something that you need to do constantly. So I liken it, when you listen to data constantly and you do social listening constantly, you look at Facebook and Twitter and all of the social platforms, it's like trying to get energy from the sun. The sun shines, 12 hours a day, more or less, right? Next. It's a constant, steady energy. And it's consistent intelligence that you're listening to every day. But, next. If you're trying to listen to the data and social listening only when you need to, when there's a big campaign, then it doesn't really work. It's almost like you hear this little blip of activity, but you don't know half the time what everyone else is talking about. You see how much conversation you actually miss when you don't actually listen constantly. But more importantly, a lot of people do ask, what do I actually listen out for? It's like when you're an astronomer and you look out to the skies, you don't know where to look. You don't know which planet to go to. You don't know which stars to look. You don't even know what metrics to look out for, right? Next. Okay, steady energy, next. Yeah, so remember, steady energy versus like the sun versus a lightning strike. Next. Yeah, so be like the sun, don't be like the lightning strike, okay? Next. There are over 85 million data sources in Brandwatch today. So I work for Brandwatch, which is a social listening solution. We take in over 85 million sources of data. One source is Facebook, one source is Twitter, one source is YouTube, one source is TripAdvisor, one source can be, LinkedIn, whatsoever, right? All these different social sources, digital sources, forums, blogs, and news sites, we pull it all into our platform. And basically, when you type something like Coca-Cola, for example, or, I want to know who are the influencers in my market who are passionate about technology, I can write that in Brandwatch, and I'll be able to see the results that come out that might actually be of use to me. So, of all the data sources, what is also important to understand is that not every social media platform is created equally, right? Facebook is very different from Twitter and YouTube and Path and Line and WhatsApp and forums and blogs and news sites. That's really important to know. So one-to-many platforms is when every information is actually completely public. Like your Facebook brand pages, for example, that's completely public, right? Twitter is completely public, right? YouTube videos, they're completely public, most of them anyway, right? One-to-few would be something like your forums, right? You need a password, you need a username, you need to go in and you'll be able to see all the different, conversations that happen. Those are things also like your ratings and your review sites, right? Like your TripAdvisor, for example. One-to-one are your little applications like Path, like WhatsApp, like Line, where basically you're talking to your friends one-on-one. A lot of people ask us, do you actually monitor this one-on-one platforms? We can't, because let's just put it this way. If we can monitor one-on-one platforms, you'll be worried about your WhatsApp messages happening and coming up onto the platforms in itself, right? Not possible. Next. And audiences is also very important to understand, right? Because not everyone produces videos, but there are people who like to share these videos and they are influencers. And those are the people that you need to think about. We call them the social amplifiers, right? And then there are people who are the silent consumers. Silent consumers, basically people who just look, they read, they think about it, and after that, they would perhaps start the search again for their brand and everything else. So let me ask you this question. When you are debating whether to buy the Samsung S7 or the iPhone 7, correct? Do you look out for all of the good reviews, or do you look out for the one bad review that you can live with? Right? People will say, oh, the iPhone 7 camera is fantastic, the S7 camera is fantastic, but yeah, the iPhone 7 doesn't have a headphone jack, but the S7 has the headphone jack. So you think about it, hey, maybe actually I don't need a headphone jack, I have Bluetooth headphones, right? So when you go to a ratings and review site as well, people who actually look for information, it's very different compared with when you go to a Facebook brand page for Samsung, right? People don't actually go to a Samsung Facebook brand page to engage with a washing machine. They go in there after they have a problem with a phone and then they complain. So Facebook brand channels are used for customer service. That's really important to know because you need to understand why you're listening out to these different channels and how to use the data properly. Next. So, ratings and reviews are very important, and we cover that in Brandwatch as well. Things like your TripAdvisor, hotel reviews, long-form discussions like your forum postings, gaming forums, passion points, auto cars, where people actually compare products, people compare, latest technology, people compare different experiences with things. Transactional goals, when you look through Instagram, for example, it's very visual, right? And you think, wow, I see this, clothing, I really like it. And I'll park it at the back of my mind and think about it till the next time I have a chance, maybe see it through a Facebook, targeting ad, or I see it in a retail shop, right? Those are transactional goals. So transactional goals are where platforms like Instagram or Twitter, when you see something, you park it at the back of my mind, the next time you come out again and you say, okay, I want to get this product next. So I'm going to share with you 3 different use cases today that might be useful for your brand. One will be content marketing, one will be product development, and another will be trying to understand how you can reshape an industry. You know, we're at Tech in Asia today. There are a lot of really great startups and great ideas here. And a lot of us just want to do really interesting work that would shape the future of not even just Indonesia, Southeast Asia, or even the world. Who says that a great idea can't come from this market, right? So I'm going to share with you this video, and I'll tell you a little bit more about how John Lewis, which is a retailer, like a supermarket in the UK, actually used Brandwatch to try and understand the impact of a piece of video that went out this Christmas on the 10th of November, and the reactions to this piece of content. Next.
The night can't stand the light. One day I'll fly away, leave all this to yesterday. What more can your love do for me? When will love be through with me? Why live life from dream to dream and dread the day when dreaming?
So anyway, this video basically, as you can see, is about this dog who discovers the trampoline, and they basically are trying to say Christmas is for everyone, right? So basically a lot of the UK supermarkets, this is a very crucial time for them, and they'll always try to come up with the most interesting Christmas videos to try and get their UK audience, right, to like the videos, share the videos, and, well, spend money at the supermarket and buy gifts and things like that, right? So using Brandwatch, what John Lewis did, next. So the first thing is, they basically used the link of the video and all the links of the Twitter profiles, all of the places where they've shared this piece of content, they put it into Brandwatch. And the moment this was pushed out to the internet, we started tracking how many mentions there are. And from all of the data that was coming in, we were able to dissect it further to see what is the gender, what is the profession, what is the passion point of these people, do they like technology, and how do they actually feel when they see this video. Next. So what we've realized is that 37% of the guys are talking about the video. Not many, a lot of females actually talk about the video, and a lot of the females are actually talking about how cute the dog is. So it seems like the poor dog, the boxer dog, is not very popular among the guys. And, well, it resonated more with the females compared to the guys. That's very important, because when you do content marketing, you need to know whether your message resonates more with the male or the female, right? Next. And basically, we are able to actually dissect different keywords. So for example, right, there are many different ways to say I'm happy, many different ways to say I'm sad, or I don't like this video at all, it really sucks. So let's just say, for example, hating or disliking the video, right? Some people might complain, oh, this is ill treatment of animals again, you use animals in an advertising shot, yada, 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 right? So we will put all of those comments automatically into hating and disliking this video. The ones who really love the video and are happy about it, they put it in one pocket. And those who are actually so touched by the video that they cried, we put it into another part of the segment because we take all these mentions and we categorize them properly. So being able to understand why people are crying, why people are laughing, or why people don't like this video will help them see, okay, how do I improve my video for next year, right? Next. Product development. Now, this is something that I think a lot of people here might actually really resonate with them because product development and being able to tweak your product constantly is very important in the grand scheme of being innovative, right? So, next. This is what we did actually to analyze virtual reality, VR, right, across the board. Why people like VR, why people don't like VR, and what are certain product features that they really hate, and who are the competitors who are actually kind of really pushing forward and making the mark on the landscape. So the first thing when you think about this use case and trying to understand product development, you need to understand who the influencers are, right? So using BrandWatch, we're able to actually see where these influencers are coming from. And what you realize is that a lot of people are uploading certain segments of this VR experiences onto YouTube, right? Because it's a very huge sort of gaming audience, technology audience, and they love watching this kind of videos. So you can see up there, YouTube, Facebook mentions on Facebook public pages when they're sharing these experiences on different Facebook brand pages like HTC or Samsung, being able to share this on Reddit, which is, the forum site, and so on and so forth. And after that, when you click on each site, you'll be able to see what they're talking about and who the influencers are. Next. And of course, you can actually see where the influencers are on forums and Twitter. Next. And of course, also see as well, for a VR audience, is it predominantly female or male? Are they talking about technology? What do they talk about besides technology? Because, of course, people who like VR would like technology, right? But what else do they talk about? One thing that was interesting to us is that a lot of people talk about gaming and technology, but there are some people, especially educators, who are talking about how we can use VR for educational content. That was something that was surfaced out in the VR study. Next. And you're also able to see what females talk about and males talk about. Now, a lot of females say that, the Oculus Rift is the best looking headset and the rest are as ugly as hell. Like, I've seen a lot of these mentions, coming up in the mentions in itself. A lot of the guys, they don't really care about how it looks. They just want to play it, and they will complain about how the PlayStation VR is the only one where you can just buy out of the box and use it. You don't have to really care about buying, one handphone and one VR headset, trying to buy a few other games, to put into the VR headset, so on and so forth. So you'll be able to actually see why people don't like that particular VR headset and why people like it. And you can actually use social listening to see this, and anyone can do it. So I'm HTC and I can see it. I'm Samsung, I can see it. I'm Sony, I can see it too. Next. And you'll be able to see why people are talking about it and why they love it. So as you can see here, people on the forums, they're talking about, PlayStation VR is the only sensible choice. It's affordable. I don't have to buy anything extra. I can just play it immediately. Next. So you need to know the unique selling points that people love. Next. And what isn't working, right? Because you need to understand why people don't like it. It makes them giddy. It makes them feel uncomfortable. It makes them feel like they look like an idiot if they wear it. Next. And of course, we're able to take all these keywords and actually segment it even differently and put it according to product support or resolution or the appearance and the setup. And you realize that a lot of people are talking about actually the quality of the VR content. Next. And of course, you'll be able to see as well who is dominating the conversation. And Sony, actually, funny enough, is actually dominating it because a lot of the really die-hard enthusiasts, they really, really love the VR headset and being able to just play it out of the box. That's it. So my last part, I'm going to just quickly breeze through. I have 2 minutes left. They're telling me now 2 minutes left. Innovation, right? Everybody knows Uber, Gojek, all of them, Tesla. They're all trying to come up with self-driving cars that can just run the road and you don't have to drive it anymore. Next. So we did a study. And this is very important as well because you're trying to see what people are talking about and what their concerns are comparing to a really new market segment, something that's never been done before. And what we realized is that Google is actually leading the conversation because they have been doing the self-driving cars for a longer time compared to everyone else because of their mapping technology, because of their own cars that can drive around and take maps and pictures of roads. Next. You also see that a lot of men, again, like to talk about, driverless car mentions, and they are discussing specific trends like Uber and Tesla and the hardware compared to women. Next. And what you also find is that when we dissect it further by gender and what they talk about, a lot of women, a lot of men like to discuss about the ethical decisions on whether drugs are programmed to kill, right? But the women, on the other hand, say, oh, I actually really enjoy driving, gives me a sense of freedom that I can get out of the house and drive my kids to work, so I don't really want a self-driving car. Next. So, okay, I'm just going to breeze this very, very quickly through, okay? So, last but not least, this is my final conclusion. 5 principles to make sense of social listening that are really important. No matter what industry you're in, try and remember this so that you can guide your own social listening strategy. The first one, next. Look for opinions, not buzz. Everybody likes to talk about the volume of buzz and the volume of mentions. Why is it that Sony has more mentions than me? But that's not the most important point, right? The most important point is, next. Instead of asking, right, how many mentions does my brand get? Ask, how do consumers actually describe my product? That is more important and gives you more insight into what you can do. Next. Data in silos never ever works. You need to combine it, right, to make it more interesting. Digital data with e-commerce data is more important compared to just understanding, Facebook or Twitter data. Combine everything together. Next. So, for example, instead of just listening to your own Facebook or Twitter channel, think about listening to your competitors. Think about listening to what other people are talking about your brand, because you realize that your share of voice becomes immediately a lot bigger. Next. Behaviors last, but campaigns don't. Remember the sunshine and the lightning strike? So listen out for the sunshine, not the lightning strike, because the sunshine will tell you what people are talking about throughout the whole year. Next. So instead of asking about, I only care about the share of voice when I launch a product, ask about what mums are talking about sensory development of babies throughout the entire year, and then you'll be able to see the common topics. Next. Use tool-driven metrics with caution. Don't obsess over sentiment. Every single client that we have in BrandWatch, right, they love to ask us about sentiment. There's positive sentiment, negative sentiment. Why is my negative sentiment so bad? Next. Don't worry too much about it, right? Because you can see, okay, why is my sentiment changed versus why is my sentiment so, up and down and everything else. You need to look for the anomalies and the patterns and not obsess about a particular month where your sentiment is like that and then like that, right? That doesn't really work. Next. And last but not least, not every negative mention is a crisis situation. It doesn't mean that when someone talks badly about your brand online, it's going to be a crisis situation, your bosses will be notified and you'll be fired. That does not happen that way. There are a lot of trolls in the world, a lot of people who are, tigers on the internet, but cats in real life. So remember that. Next. Right? So don't think that it's the end of the world when someone talks badly about you on the internet, okay? Next. All right, I know it's about, I'm talking about change and everything else. I want to leave you with this note from Bill Gates, because he talks about this often, because Microsoft actually missed out on the mobile revolution, when the iPhone came out, the Android phones came out, and so on and so forth. And he said this, next, that we always overestimate the change, right, that will occur in the next 2 years and underestimate the change that would happen in the next 10 years. So when you think about social and the change, try and think long-term about behaviors, not about specific metrics. Think about what people are talking about things rather than looking at the specific campaigns at point in time. That will be more crucial as a research than understanding what specific campaigns or sentiment might affect you. So last but not least, we'll provide the logic, whatever platform you choose, social listening and everything else, we always provide the logic and will be a telescope to the skies that are the social data sphere. Next. But you have to provide the magic because you need to interpret the data and apply it to your business. So thank you.